They're here today to share their love for Paddington's history with you all. They're the driving force behind the online community, Paddington Then and Now, and are passionate about shaking the dust of people's photographs, stories, and memories by creating engaging content and conversations online. Their creative methods of historical harvesting have led to the collection of thousands of stories and photographs that may have become lost in time had it not been for their enthusiasm and genuine interest in their community's past. Their volunteer work in community engagement has led them to marketing roles at Brisbane Living Heritage, where they get to shout out about all of South East Queensland's wonderful heritage organisations and events. Tonight their talk is titled Preserving Paddington's Legacy, our organisation's digital journey.
Hello, I'm Kerry Forsyth and this is Kayla Jeffrey, and together we run Paddington Then and Now, which is an online history group. Now my background is with my family's real estate business as a marketer and also as their company historian, and Kaylee's background is as an author, and she ran a huge community history project which ended up as a book called Under the Lino. Unbeknownst to us at the time, our paths crossed many times and we never met. Our kids were at school together, she came to my house for Halloween, I designed a flyer for one of her Under the Lino talks, and we'd never met. But then one day during COVID online, I posed the question, does Paddington have a history group? And she answered me. So we decided, we couldn't believe the answer actually. The answer was no. Paddington did not have a history group and we were stunned. So we decided to get together and see if we could do something about that.
So the word got out that Kerry and I were really interested in Paddington's history. And there was a collective sigh from the Ashgrove Historical Society when they opened one of their dusty bottom drawers and gave us the whole history of Paddington in the boot of my car. And so we were gifted all of the photographs and stories that had been sitting there for more than 20 years since Paddington had done a project. Now we sifted through these old photos and decided we don't want to be one of those dusty old historical societies. We want everything to be out in the open. So let's do then and now photographs, before and after pictures of all the pictures that we have discovered. We don't want boring old meetings. We don't want death by committee. We want to do things our way. And we called our group Paddington Then and Now. We wanted to play in a playground like we did online. We used to hang out in Lost Brisbane, in Old Brisbane Album. I'd done the Under the Lino project. It was a great space where people could share photos, except there were so many people in these groups, they didn't have a really connected vision.
Indeed, we wanted a local community for ourselves that we could experience. We loved Paddington, we both lived there. We really wanted to learn about its history, but not just from academic books. We wanted to learn from the people who lived there before us. And so we started a Facebook page and we started sharing then and now photos as a first step. But it was really hard work, just the two of us creating all the content, and with the Facebook page, as you know, it's a one-way street. You're pushing all the content out and you're not getting much contribution. So with advice from a colleague, we switched and made a Facebook group, and there was so much more interaction and people were able to share their stories and photos.
Now, at the moment, there's over 5,000 people in our Facebook group, and these are people who have responded incredibly, from people who lived in Paddington, people who currently live in Paddington, anyone who's ever visited Paddington, and there were incredible responses. And what we actually did, we started getting people together. People were having reunions, they were having get-togethers, they were meeting old friends, old neighbours, they were sharing stories. There was 100% engagement in all of these sorts of posts that were coming from the community in the group. And even our local leaders jumped on board. So we had people from all the political parties who happened to be representing our suburb at the time. We had all the churches, all the denominations, all the community groups, everyone you could imagine, all meeting on common ground, which is of course history and space. So we started to get involved in all the local historical events and community events, and we always had a history stall somewhere, or we were actually helping them with their sort of community engagement. We did reunions, we did launches, we did all sorts of things, and the best thing we did was the Paddington Flood Drive at 2021.
Because of our volunteer work, we were invited to Government House for tea, and the Governor wanted to say thank you for all the community work we were doing, and we were thrilled. But while we were there, the conversation quickly turned to history, and while her husband, Professor Nimmo, was on the edge of his seat, she was probably nodding off in the corner. But anyway, we got through it, and we ended up with a patron, and we were finally legitimate as a group. But we were ready to do something a little bit bigger, and this is where Brisbane Open House tapped us on the shoulder and said, do you want to be the Village of Brisbane for 2023? And we went, yeah, of course we do. And it was wonderful, a wonderful event. So around this time we realised that we had quite a few skills we'd gathered over the years, and we got on well. We had a good following online, and our husbands were starting to say, you know all this work that you're doing? When's it going to pay a bill? So we started a business partnership.
Our new business was called Snapshot Storytelling, and we started helping community organisations and local businesses with their social media, their sort of community engagement. They wanted to know, what did we do to get so many people interested in what we were doing? So we were doing legacy project management and that kind of stuff with them. And their dream client came along, and that was Brisbane Living Heritage. And so in the meantime, we're now earning a little bit of money, and Paddington Then and Now continues in the background. We continue to share stories, we continue to gather photographs, and we are basically self-managed in the group. Everybody kind of looks after it for us, which is wonderful. But our favourite story has to be that Suncorp Stadium, formerly known as Lang Park, used to be a cemetery. And we have a bit of a laugh when people find out that it was a cemetery that, you know, whenever anybody from the Blues trips over during the State of Origin, that's one of the hands poking up through the tripping somebody over, because they're still there.
So what's the future for Paddington Then and Now? Well, we're still collecting stories, but what we've found is some of the biggest gaps in our local history belong to our Indigenous and also our multicultural past, when Paddington was a truly working class suburb. We also plan to harvest all of those stories and all the stories that have already been shared, and we want them to make sure that they get to the State Library's catalogue. Oh my gosh, it's a QR code, you know what to do. If you want to follow us online, get your phone out. This is our again, our shameless plug. But join us, come and join us in our playground. Share your Paddington story, we'd love to talk to you and hear from you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see the story and history behind such a successful grassroots organisation and all the work that you do. So thank you for sharing.